I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand, walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for a place called Lee Ho Fook's for to get a big dish of beef chow mein.
Werewolves of London.
Werewolves of London.
Ow.
You hear 'em howling around your kitchen door. You better not let 'em in. Little old lady got mutilated late last night. Werewolves of London again.
Werewolves of London.
Ow!
Ow.
Ow!
There you go. That's it.
He's a hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately, he's been overheard in Mayfair. You better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. Huh! I'd like to meet his tailor. Ow! Werewolves of London. Ow! Ow! Werewolves of London. Ow! Well, I saw Lon Chaney walking with the Queen, doing the Werewolves of London. I saw Lon Chaney Jr. walking with the Queen, doing the Werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect. Ow! Werewolves of London. Ow! Ow! Happy Halloween, everybody! Yeah.
Happy Halloween, man.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Halloween special, Death Sentences. And tonight we're trying something different. I have a few friends here that you already met, Joey Petroni and Michelle McDonald, and they are both going to read. We're going to take turns reading, and I'm also going to read from my vampire novel, my long-awaited cult novel, Last of the Fangtooth Bastards. And Joey is going to read. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to read, but he's got something really cool. And then Michelle is going to read some Edgar Allan Poe. So without further ado, let's bring up Joey Petroni.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Happy Halloween to everybody, man. This is my favorite night of the year. This is the one night, the one day where I fit in with everybody. So I have a story that was written back in 1997, and it's been in the attic ever since. Yes, I wrote it. It's called Halloween. How perfect is that? The word Halloween comes from two different parts. First you have hallow, Hallo, which comes from the word hello. Some say that ghosts and goblins say hello to each other, but when the wind is blowing, it sounds more like hallow. Doesn't sound like hello. With the wind, it's hollow. In the fall around Halloween, there are a lot of windy days, so it's more of a hollow than a hello. Due to the absolute weightness of the windy fall days, ghosts get blown around very easily. This is where the ween comes from. They're actually saying we. So the ghosts are being blown around in the fall days, and it sounds like ween, like hollow ween, but it's actually hollow wee, because they're having fun with the wind blowing them around. That makes sense, man. This is where the word comes from. They're actually saying we, like a child would say, going down a slide. They try to lean into the wind to stop themselves from being tossed aimlessly into no end. So other ghosts yell to their friends to lean, to lean. Okay, that's where lean comes from. So you have your hollow, which is actually hello. You have your wee, which is ween. And then you have your lean, because the other ghosts are telling them to lean into the wind. So you have your hollow, wee, lean. Lean into the wind. Wow, that's crazy, man. So the situation occurs like this. A ghost sees a goblin and says hello. At the same time, a gust of wind blows him away, and he shouts, wee, and his friends yell out, lean. It usually ends up a happy occasion, so that's why they say happy Halloween. Man, that was written back in 1997. I have not read that. How many years ago was 1997? That's at least 30 years ago, right? Anybody here know? 30 years ago? This is a whole book of stories that I wrote back then when I used to drink a lot and when pot was illegal and I had to smoke it behind my shed. All these stories were written listening to the Grateful Dead, and that's why Benny and I are such good friends. I miss those days of seeing the Grateful Dead at the Nassau Coliseum. There's a lot of great stories in this book. Anybody ever wants to borrow this book, I have it. And you can borrow it at any time. Just contact Joey Petroni on Facebook, and I'll make sure you get a copy. Benny, that's the story of Halloween. That's how Halloween came to be.
Awesome, man. That was 26 years ago.
26 years ago, I wrote this book back in the heydays, man. And it was still in my attic in great shape. Not even in a bin. It wasn't even it was just sitting in my attic. So I have about 5 of these suckers.
You're going to read more for us later, right?
I will read more if you want. Yeah, I have plenty of stories here. So that's the story of Halloween. I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween. Everybody tuning in tonight. This is the best night of the year, man. A lot of kids. I got hit in the. It's kind of funny. I was cleaning out my gutter, and I got hit in the back of the head with an egg before. That's why I was a little late, Benny. I'm sorry. I had to jump in the shower. They didn't realize I was an adult either. They apologized and said, "Oh, I thought you were one of the kids." So, happy Halloween. Be safe. And did you ever get hit in the head with a sock of flour?
Yes.
Yeah.
And shaving cream.
And shaving cream.
Yeah.
Right. I can take an egg.
Joey Petroni, everybody. Big round of applause for Joey Petroni. Now we're going to show you a trailer from an oldie but a goodie horror film. So here's an oldie and goodie horror film. We're going to go to this trailer right now.
You've lost the urge to experiment.
Oh, every time you touch me, I go out of my mind. Let me die. Let me die.
Her brain kept alive by experimental science, by a man whose abnormal passions inspired him to try the impossible.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
So
What of her soul? How can you make of her an experiment of horror?
His mad ambitions and desires threaten every woman possessing an attractive body. Girls whose measurements make them beauty contest participants. Professional figure models such as this. All are prey to his distorted desires.
what's locked behind that door?
Horror. No normal mind can imagine. Something even more terrible than you.
Horror has its ultimate, and I'm that.
Behind that door is the sum total of Dr. Corton's mistakes.
He intends to kill somebody. To rob them of their body. We've got to stop him.
Hey, listen, I gotta tell you something that nobody knows about me. All right, I gotta tell you, you gotta help me if you can. When the moon turns full tonight, something terrible is gonna happen to me. I'm gonna turn into this horrible beast. Oh, it's happening already. Don't look at me! Don't look at me! Ciao, my friends! It's me, Alfredo Gagootz, and I love you. How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what happened to my pants? Hey, let's go to the kitchen and cook something. Come with me. All right. Two great videos right there. And now I'm going to read from my vampire novel, Last of the Fangtooth Bastards. Last of the Fangtooth Bastards, Book 1, Soul of the Phoenix. Prologue. At the end of the 20th century, 1992 to be exact, Pam Stewart worked as a maid in a mansion in Old Westbury. Not the profession she expected to be doing at 27 years old, but 3 years ago her whole life went to shit. Her and her husband Matthew were working at a classy restaurant, making some nice money and living in a pretty nice apartment. Then without any warning, Matthew started acting very strange. Pam suspected drugs, and not something petty like weed. He had all the telltale signs of a junkie. And when she confronted him on it, he just disappeared. No note, no phone call, just gone. So when her husband disappeared, so did their dreams of opening up a restaurant of their own. Then everything else vanished as well. Her job, her apartment, and the bank account. And now, 3 years later, Pam was living in a studio apartment, which was a converted garage, and she was driving a crappy car that smoked more than a charcoal grill, and working as a cashier in a rundown supermarket. Then 3 years later, like magic, Matthew reappeared. He looked fantastic. No longer like a destitute junkie, but more like a suave entrepreneur. He was wearing clothes that he never could afford when they were together, and she was happy for him, but she kept a distance. The last thing she needed was to fall in love with him again. Pam knew that it wouldn't be easy, but she needed inner strength and some dignity. Oddly, Matthew didn't come back into her life to rekindle their marriage. They never even hugged. They just shook hands and then laughed about it. They still seemed to have that humorous chemistry that brought them together in the first place. Matthew knew that what he did to her was almost unforgivable, but he told Pam that he wanted to help her get back on her feet. And he claimed that he was in a prime position to make her a very wealthy lady. As it turned out, Matthew was involved with some private antique collectors, and what he was proposing to her was not exactly on the up and up. Matthew had a connection with a cleaning service that provided maids for wealthy customers. He told Pam that if she worked at the DeCarlo Mansion in Old Westbury and took some small items that wouldn't be missed, he was willing to pay her top dollar for them, as long as these items looked pretty old. At first, Pam was angry that he even considered her to become his private thief. But he assured her that whoever lived in the mansion was not going to miss what she took. That didn't make her feel any better, but then there was that envelope with $1,000 cash. He made her take the money, even if she decided not to take him up on his offer, just take the money. But eventually she did accept the offer. And by some dumb luck, in Pam's first week at the DeCarlo Mansion, she was assigned to clean an area of the attic that looked like nobody had been up there for years. Then she built up enough courage to pilfer a few trinkets. One of these items was an old rusty dagger, and carved into the wooden handle was a word that she couldn't really make out. But it seemed to make Matthew very happy. And for that one piece alone, he gave her $2,500. On her third week as a maid, Pam was assigned to cleaning the library. The library had a storeroom which also seemed neglected for a very long time. It was in this storeroom that she stumbled upon a secret compartment. And in this secret compartment, she found a very old book. Glancing through it, she learned that it was someone's personal journal. From the few entries she glanced at, she learned that the journal was written in the 1930s by someone named Alex Drake. But some of the memories in it seemed to refer to the bubonic plague during London's 17th century. Pam was definitely taking this journal, but she wasn't going to tell Matthew about it for a couple of days. Not until she read it herself. That night, that's exactly what she did. What Pam was yet to learn was that the man who wrote this journal was born in the year 1642, and he was still alive. And no, he wasn't a vampire. End of the prologue. And now, my co-host from the Gagootz Show, Jen, thank you. My co-host from the Gagootz Show, Jen, is going to read a chapter from Last of the Fangtooth Bastards.
Interesting. October 5th. Throughout the world, many believe that the vampire must drink only the blood of virgins for eternal sustenance. If such were actual facts, the late 20th century would have caused their total extinction. Alex Drake, from a journal entry written in the final decade of the 20th century. Chapter 7. Darlene tinged when his warm hand touched hers. "Are you sure you won't have a drink with me?" Bob asked as the waitress returned with his rum and coke. "Positive," Darlene answered, smiling politely at him and the waitress. "I have a long ride in the morning." "What do you do?" he asked as the waitress disappeared into the crowd. They were sitting in a secluded booth which overlooked the dance floor. After he asked her to dance, Darlene led him to the section of the nightclub. The music still made the walls pulse, but it was a quieter place to get to know someone. "I work for an investment company," she answered in a deep, sensual voice. She pretended not to notice how he studied every inch of her. Darlene was a sensually radiant woman of African descent, with a light brown complexion. And in her tight leather skirt and knee-high black boots, she knew he wanted her in the worst way. "Are you staying at the hotel?" he asked while stirring his drink. "No, I mostly live in the city, but I like to stop by here on my way home for a bite to eat." Darlene frequented all the hotel clubs along the expressway. Most of these clubs were notorious for cheaters' bars, and Darlene had a thing for married men. Ooh. Earlier, he introduced himself as Bob. Darlene could sense that Bob wasn't even his real name. "How's the food here?" Bob asked. "Delicious." During their small talk, Bob didn't have to tell Darlene that he wasn't an eligible bachelor. For her keen eye, it was obvious. The way he occasionally scanned the room and then scanned her made seducing him that much more fun. She nonchalantly rubbed her leg against his, then pretended it was an innocent accident. "Hey, Aunt Darlene, do you feel like dancing some more?" he asked after another sip of his cocktail. "Sure," she answered as they headed down the carpeted steps. She had a change of mind. "You know, now I'm getting thirsty." "Okay, the bar is right next to the dance floor." "Oh no, I never drink here," she said, her voice deeper and more sensual than a moment ago. "If you have a car, I'll show you a better place." She wrapped her arms around his torso and kissed him passionately. "Whoa, your lips are cold as hell," he said, rubbing his own lips. "I'll warm up if you take me outside," she answered while rubbing up against him. A combination of the alcohol and the stunning woman at his side made him disregard those sudden chills. Just before they left the club, she put her face near his ear and whispered something that made him tingle. Inside his Lincoln Continental, she showed Bob that they didn't need to get a room. His hands glided slowly over the contours of her shapely body in the plush back seat. Darlene slid her head into his crotch. Bob gasped with anticipation as she opened his zipper with her teeth. He faced the ceiling with his eyes closed. She showed Bob rapture that he had never experienced with his wife or any other of the women with whom he'd committed adultery. As ecstasy overwhelmed him, her sharp fingernails dug themselves into his thighs. She plunged her face against his abdomen. Her long fingers ran slowly down his legs. She heard him let out a deep moan. That was when she slowly reached one hand into her boot. Bob's moans of orgasm became screams for mercy. He began to shake violently from the sudden pain. Darlene had a lot of experience in dealing with manic hysterics of men who had their penis amputated by her dagger. She muffled his screams with an incredibly strong hand as her head remained in his bleeding crotch. She could have easily snapped his neck and prevented this struggle, but it was so much more enjoyable when they suffered. As Bob let out his last cold breath, she moaned while swallowing his gushing fluid. Moments like this gave her a rush of excitement. As his body became pale and cold, her skin became shiny and black. Her body became very powerful and warm. She tongued the dagger slowly before sliding it back in her boot. Like all the men she feasted on, Darlene displayed a finesse which pleased her elders. 20 minutes later, Bob's Continental exploded in the hotel parking lot. Authorities suspected a professional mob hit. The idea of a vampire was never even considered, except by one person who learned of the crime through the news, someone who wasn't affiliated with law enforcement, so to speak. January 9th. Our new specimen was of greater strength and ability compared to the blood demon that we were currently studying. The advancement in this particular subject has made us aware that perhaps vampirism advances in stages. This is an excerpt from the Stolen Personal Journal of Alex Drake. All that talking certainly made me thirsty. That was a salacious read, and trust me, I'm O positive.
Oh, that was Jen Snortland, my co-host and my partner in crime. And that was another chapter from Last of the Fang-Toothed Bastards. But now let me introduce a very good friend, Michelle McDonald, who's here, and she's going to read us some Edgar Allan Poe.
Thank you, Benny.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
An enigma. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Duns, half an idea of the profound sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once, and easily as though a Naples bonnet, trash of all trash, how can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than your Persian stuff, our downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into trunk paper, the while you con it, invertibly Saul is right enough. The general tuckmasters are errant. Buffalo's ethereal are so transparent. But this is now. You may depend upon it. Stable, opal, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. You'll be back. Michelle will be back. I'm tripping all over. Michelle McDonald, everybody. And now here's a video of a haunted flea market that I went to a few years back. How you doing? I'm Benny Rizzuti. I'm about to take you on a quick, fun trip to a really fun flea market. Fun, if you're into horror, you're going to love this little trip that we're about to take. We have arrived to the bizarre haunted flea market.
Bethpage Village Restoration, and I am talking to author Loren Malloy and just visiting some friends here because it's a great day to do stuff. I took the day off from the Kate Fox show, so here I am. Happy horrors, and make sure you buy my books through Amazon. Just look for Loren Malloy. Happy horrors from this spooky bitch, Loren Malloy, and you're watching Benny TV. You're watching Benny TV.
Excuse me?
What's it for?
What's this for?
Yeah.
It's for a show called Benny TV.
Benny TV? What's
Benny
that?
TV. It's on, you can get it on Facebook Live, and you can get it on YouTube. It's on Strong Island Radio and Television on Facebook. Are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, and, or you could look me up. I'm Benny Rizzuti.
Oh, definitely.
All right? Yeah, I do.
Do you have Instagram?
I have a card that I'm on Facebook. I don't know how to Instagram or any of that other. I mean, you know, I'm not a young man.
Hi, I'm Elsie McCobb.
And you're watching Benny TV.
I'm watching some guy named Benny wearing a Batman shirt with a beard. Do you know? I do. I saw you to know him because we watch Benny TV. Thank you, Benny, for being here. It's nice to see you, and have fun.
Tell us a little bit about this place.
About the place, about the event?
About the event and how it all started.
Oh, God, that's a loaded thing, Benny. I've got chemo brain, remember? Well, I mean, this is meant for mothers today. Just wanted to do something special for the moms. I love my mom dearly, so I thought it would be fun to take mom out, give her a little pampering section today, and not interfere with her tomorrow day with the kids and family and whatnot. So today's her day to shop, get some glitter in her hair, get some polish, get some glitter in her lips, get some snacks, and get her tarots read and all that good stuff here at Old Bethpage Village. That's what I got for you. My name's Vicky, and you're watching Benny TV. Perfect.
And that was a clip from a show I once had here at Paradise Studio, Strong Island. And it was a haunted flea. It was Benny TV was the show. And now you're watching Death Sentences, which is produced by the Gagootz show. So that clip that we just saw of the haunted flea market, and that was Elsie McCobb at the end, the late Elsie McCobb. She's passed away, and she would have loved this show. She loved Halloween. She was a great writer and a wonderful woman. She was the one that organized some of the greatest horror events on Long Island, some great events. And I had the pleasure of interviewing her on a show I did once. Wonderful person, and sorely missed by everybody. So Elsie McCobb, beautiful lady. Now, without further ado, without shooting my big mouth off anymore, I am going to read more. Some people said they love what we're doing, so they're enjoying the show. Jen Snortland said to get naked, and that's not going to happen with me, but maybe this person I'm going to bring up who's going to read us some more. Joey Petroni is going to come up and read us some more.
Thank you. Benny, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, as far as getting naked, it's Halloween. It will be a little bit of a scary treat for you guys. So I have my book from 1997. I have a couple of things here. I have a letter that was written to my band back then. I thought it was kind of cool to read that now. I haven't read this letter in 26 years. The name of my band back in the day was the Bustin' Surfboards. That was the name of my band. So I got this letter. Hey, guys, what's up? You really know how to rock. I really enjoy watching your show. Man, it's about time there's a good band out there that I look forward to watching. I'm writing to you to persuade you to change the name of your band. The Bustin' Surfboards is a cruel name to someone like myself who really enjoys surfing. It's kind of like a kid who collects baseball cards and name in his collection ripped cards. It's also like a man who loves his dog but calling him broken leg mutt. I'm not alone in my request. As a matter of fact, my buddies are here from LA, California, and they're with me on this. Surfing is a huge part of our lives, and we would greatly appreciate the name of your band being changed. I know you don't know me or my friends, but we will protest your band's name by not going to any more of your shows. We are a big group. There is at least 30 of us who love your music and your show. It would be sad for us to avoid your shows because of your stubbornness. My name is Jack Flaherty, and I'm an insurance broker. I'm not some loser, and I feel like my request is very reasonable. Again, we love your show and we hope you consider this matter. It may seem silly, but we're not a bunch of guys we're a bunch of guys who really, really take surfing to the heart, and the name Bustin' Surfboards ain't cutting it with us. Sincerely, Jack Flaherty. So that's kind of cool. We didn't change the name of our band, by the way, Bustin' Surfboards. I never, we probably should have, because we lost 30 fans, $5 a head back then. We lost what? 30 times 150. We lost 150 a show because we were stubborn. But that's the kind of stuff I used to put up with back in 1997. So it's great to be here on Halloween. I hope you guys are having a great Halloween. I had a lot of kids trick-or-treating over by my house. I had the smoke machine going outside, strobe lights going outside. And it's kind of funny. I had the whole 9 yards going outside my house. And when the kids came up and knocked on the door and got candy, I put the bowl out. I said, oh, great costumes, great costumes. Door would close. I'd turn around. I'd see the parents taking the candy I gave them out of the bag and putting it in their pockets. Like they don't want them. They don't trust the candy I'm handing out. So it's kind of sad. I know when I was a kid, someone on my block was caught with putting razor blades in candy bars, which is terrible. I don't want to give any ideas. The worst that was done back then was a friend of mine. He made his own Hershey Kisses, and he had the mold for it, and he would put garlic in it. So you'd have a mouthful of garlic when it melted in your mouth. Kind of gross, but that's funny. Razor blades suck. And to all my neighbors who might be watching tonight, my candy was clean. You really didn't have to take it. And if you want, you guys can eat it. So this podium's awesome, Benny. I love the podium here. Last time I actually was at a podium like this, I was speaking at, I was saying the first reading at my cousin's wedding. So it was kind of like, I had to do one of these. And I don't know if you noticed, but in church they always do the old moving the microphone, right? They have to make that little noise, and the whole church it echoes. And now we're reading from St. Matthew. But that's the last time I stood at a podium, so it's really nice. It's kind of weird, because the last time I was at a podium was in a church, right, at my cousin's wedding, a holy place. And now tonight I'm at a podium, and there's all skeletons and goblins, and right, it's Halloween. So what's that telling me? Something going wrong? I guess I'm balancing myself out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Benny. I got more stories. I hope you guys enjoyed my Bustin' Surfboards.
Yeah, that was great. That was good. Joey Petroni, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
That was awesome. And now I'm going to bring up Michelle McDonald again, and she's going to read a chapter from Last of the Fangtooth Bastards.
September 2nd. It was not our intention to hunt vampires. We were men of science with hopes of benefiting mankind. Had we been hunters of the undead, we would have the good sense to perform our inoculation campaign during daylight hours and not past the hour of midnight. Alex Drake. Chapter 14. Two elders conversed. The Ancient One surrounded the one within its vaporous forms. He did not possess the skill to defend against two of our Nefertites, said the old one. What of our luscious traitor? Asked the lavender cloud in a bestial articulation. Tomorrow she will be here for your pleasure. Apparently, this Philip de Carlo does not possess the expertise associated with the Sheva, said the dense cloud. Normally, any constitute of the collective would have killed the infected Stewart girl. Guess? Of course, my master, answered the old one. Yet she still lives. But this impostor has survived. 2 skilled attackers. Did he not? It was not an insult to the old one, to his abilities as a leader of the undead. We were lax with the impostor to determine his knowledge, and to appease our suspicion, he answered in defense. The authenticity of the journal is in question, continued the old one. The ink is quite fresh compared to the period of the binding. The dark cloud billowed through the long stone chamber beneath the city. Still said a voice, like a cold wind blowing against ice findings. The dark vapor paused. You could not remove it from the plastic covering without assistance. Was it not protected in a manner developed by the dreaded abominations themselves? Further reason of my cautious scrutiny, your lordship. The encircling cloud vibrated against the old one. The entity thickened, its purplish color shimmering before the old one's glowing eyes. Never forget, hissed the ancient one. It is I who knew immediately the collective dedicated to our extinction. I watched many of them die as I discovered the limits of their abominable timelessness. Until there is a certainty of Sheva's extinction, we shall remain elusive. It is not yet the time to spread the next plague. Even an impostor such as this Philip DiCarlo deserves a torturous demise. Remember, there is additional evidence that one of the Sheva still exists. One of our own was recently exterminated in the traditional manner, decapitation. The ancient one growled. The young college girl, such a pitiful waste of young flesh. And what of the animal head? Continued the lavender cloud. Would that not be considered a sign left by a member of the Sheva? As it was ominous, voice bellowed, the ancient one spread like a fog within the dark lair. The old one was puzzled. Which animal is that? How did the ancient one discover details which even he was unaware of, he wondered. Sometimes I retrieve my own information, said the ancient one, answering his thoughts. A detail the authorities kept from the media, but not from me. Had you known of the animal, you would have come to me sooner. You would have understood why I allowed Pam Stewart's ex-husband to exist shortly after I demanded his demise. Can you consider yourself a worthy opponent of a Sheva if you are unaware of the goat's head found beside the decapitated student, and of its significance to our history, scowled the Ancient One. The Old One was constantly reminded of his inferiority to the Ancient One. The reference to the goats as an evil form had prevailed for centuries before he was even human-born. Had I known of your discovery, said the Old One, with humbled obedience, little time would have been wasted telling Philip DiCarlo, even if he was not the sole member of the Sheva. His immediate death would have become a message to the one responsible for this desecration. Tonight I vow revenge. Of all the collective's members we have known, which one would you say this Alex Streak, the lavender cloud, asked curiously? I never knew the name of my victims, answered the Old One coldly. Nor I, agreed the billowing entity. Yet one must keep track of their adversities, it said wisely. The Eternal Collective was not some village assembly. They were crafty in their own way. They even possessed strength. Of the names of my victims, I know few, but the names of all the Sheva I shall never forget. Even the alias, asked the Old One. Most of their names were aliases most of the time. To further indicate superiority, the Ancient One added, all of the Alex Streaks I have encountered. Could the one who wrote this journal have been Juan Philippe?
Michelle McDonald, thank
you,
you so
Benny.
much.
Thank
And that was a cold reading, so I want to explain something. So that was cold. She was reading Poe, and then she asked if I had something, and I said, "Do you want to read a chapter?" So she did great. You did really good. The name of the collective is actually the Sekva. It's the Secret Eternal Collective Hunting Vampiric Atrocities. Yeah. So you learn a little more. And if you know anything about the lore of vampires, they in this book, but vampires, they can transform into, they can become bats, they can become wolves, and the Ancient One has the power to turn into a mist, because you've seen that in vampire movies where the Dracula becomes a mist, and it's just, so the Ancient One is a mist, and the Old One can turn into a wolf, but cannot turn into a mist. So that's what that chapter was all about, the little interplay between them. You did great. You did really good. And again, I want to thank both Joey and Michelle. And now I'm going to read a little bit, and then I'll bring them back up. I'm going to read a few journal entries from Last of the Fangtooth Bastards. Okay, so give you an idea of what is going on. Because as you've noticed, I opened it with the prologue, which is actually chapter 1, but it's a lot easier if I tell you it's a prologue to give you an idea of, the introduction to the story. And then Jen read a chapter that introduces Darlene, whom I call Darlene Dagger. And to let you know a little bit, some of these characters were inspired by rock and roll. So there's Jack. Jack was inspired by the song Jumpin' Jack Flash. Darlene was inspired by a Jimi Hendrix song, Dolly Dagger. She drinks the blood from a jagged edge. So that's why after she cut that man's penis off, she licked the dagger. And I say that, she licked the jagged edge of the dagger, because I took that line from Jimi Hendrix' song, Dolly Dagger. She drinks the blood from a jagged edge. And not that I don't really know who Dolly Dagger was, but it's a great song if you're a Jimi Hendrix fan. So, and a few other characters here and there were based on, came from songs and stuff. And the Ancient One, I can't really give away the Ancient One. So hopefully maybe you'll be able to get a copy of Book 1 around Christmas time. I'm thinking, because some people, Michelle wants to read it in the worst way. So would you be, I'm just asking this question, if I did what I would call a manuscript version, where it would be like this, but bound with a binding, and Book 1, would you be interested in a copy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, she said. Joey?
I'll take one, yeah, man.
They'll take one too, all right. And you two would get a free copy. I wouldn't, of course, because, you're not getting paid for this. But, no, I want to thank you both. So now, let me read a few journal entries, and then we'll see if Joey wants to come back, or if you both want to come back. And we've got like 8 minutes. So let me read a few journal entries from the stolen journal of Alex Drake, the journal that Pam stole. 4th of January. My first confidence with Dr. Isaac Sansbury on his theory of a demonic pestilence occurred nearly 3 centuries past. An acute memory keeps me from forgetting the most minuscule details of that early summer evening, or an eternity of evenings thereafter. On this particular night in 1664, several men of science, myself included, were seated in the professor's study. We were informed of what he referred to as the blood plague, an illness more diabolical than the present pestilence in London. Unlike the fatalities of the deadly bubonic plague, victims of this blood plague became revived corpses, corpses that continued to live by consuming blood from the living. Several of our colleagues were at first non-believers of the doctor's hypothesis. Then Dr. Sansbury revealed his hidden basement laboratory and the secret it held. Even the acclaimed surgeon Nelson Van Buren was compelled to turn his head from the ghastly spectacle we would become witness to. Excerpt from the stolen personal journal of Alex Drake. 5th of January. Many tests were performed on Dr. Sansbury's living corpse. The blood demon, as we classified it, was strapped to a cot within the steel cage. Incisions were made upon its hands and feet, yet the creature did not bleed. Whenever we held a mirror to its pale face, it would scream in horror. Flowers, especially roses, made the blood demon cringe. Water scorched its flesh, yet surprisingly, wine was the most deadly of liquids. It was to the blood demon what acid is to a living organism. When without blood for a long period, the creature's behavior was of a most odious nature. We were forced to accommodate it through injections of blood from our lab animals. Upon receiving these feedings, its complexion would become darker, and its open incisions would then begin to bleed, then mysteriously heal. All right. 4th of August. Infinite longevity is not all it's cracked up to be. Immortality is no fun if you can't spend it with those you love, yet you would be totally miserable if you could spend immortality with the ones you loved. July. Throughout the world, many believe that the vampire must drink. Oh, Jen read this one before, so I'll read it again. Throughout the world, many believe that the vampire must drink only the blood of virgins for eternal sustenance. If such were an actual fact, the late 20th century would have caused their total extinction. January. One huge rotting cemetery. This is the London I shall never forget, the city of my birth and the land held most dearly to my soul during one of her most darkened periods in history. Due to the rapid spread of the pestilence, Londoners were imprisoned within their homes by a strict curfew. My late hours in the laboratory forced me to creep through the seediest routes to avoid arrest. There were vicious warnings and slogans painted on many boarded-up homes. Each night I also passed tremendous pits of fire which seemed to burn eternally. On most evenings, I was forced to vomit from the stench of the burning flesh in those fiery craters. Yet the most dreadful feeling within my gut would occur when I returned to our modest home and tightly embraced my wife and our 2 sons. It was hard not to shed tears, especially since our search for a plague cure was becoming clearly hopeless. Okay, we have 3 more minutes, so you want to read?
Oh, it's up to you, Monster.
Yeah, come on up.
Can I put you on the spot?
Okay.
I would love to see you read one of my stories if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, great. Great, she has a great reading voice. All right.
This is kind of funny. I wrote this back in 1997, and if you don't mind, I'll probably take a year today to read it. So it's called Not Bad, Pretty Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Every day when I go to work, I wind up spending some time on a train platform. Waiting for a train is both boring and annoying, but it's what I have to do to get to work. While waiting, I run into the same people day in and day out. They're not friends, but people who I've been friendly with. I have to see them, so I'm nice to them. I like to call it small talk, keeping the conversation short and sweet. When I see this man named Paul, he always says, "Hi, Dave, how are you?" And I reply, "Not bad." Then he'll say, "How's everything?" And I'll say, "Pretty good." Then he would say, "How's the family?" And I would say, "Not bad." Then he would ask, "How's work?" And I would say, "Pretty good." Then he would say, "Nice day, isn't it?" And I would say, "Yeah, not bad." After this small talking conversation with Paul, this older woman, who's also on the platform, every day says, "Hey Dave, how are you?" And I once again reply, "Not bad." Well, once again, I could go on and on. Let's just say Paul and this older woman are just 2 out of the 6 people I see every morning on the train platform. And every one of them asks small talk questions. So before my day even gets started, I say, "Not bad" and "pretty good" over 6 dozen times. How's my story? Don't tell me not bad, right? Pretty good, huh?
That was awesome.
Oh, thank you. That's so cute.
Thank you.
Come to the podium. Come over. Okay, we're running out of time, believe it or not. That 1 hour went, you come in the middle here.
Oh, okay, I'm
That
sorry.
1 hour went very fast. I want to thank Michelle McDonald and Joey Petroni. Thank you so much. And happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you. Happy Halloween. And we're going to end with a trailer from another old horror movie. And this is a creepy, this is a good creepy one.
Let's see it.
Good night, everyone. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
You
Halloween.
see it?
Yes.
How could that thing have gotten aboard? And why? Just to kill us?
What is the usual reason an intelligent creature kills?
It's hungry. What makes you so certain it's intelligent, Colonel? Not just an animal.
It opened the door to C compartment.
In the silent void of outer space, puny man matches his cunning against a monster from Mars running rampant, howling for all the flesh and blood on Earth.